let's start. You had a homework. First of all, start with the organizational part. So, Python lessons will be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 2 o'clock. So, pretty much 3 times a week, beginning at 2 o'clock in Tartu 18. So, in this cabinet. So, if anyone wonders. Lectures with Nikolai will be on Monday, 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's planned Wednesday, Friday, same time, 2 o'clock at Tartamante 53. But you can actually speak with Nikolai. Maybe you can do some changes as well. So it's up to you to decide. But at the beginning, it is like that. So you had a homework working with text file. No one actually sent me solutions. Have anyone tried? Well, I know Erwin tried. Anyone else? Marek sent me solution. Sorry, there was solution by Marek. All right, all right. It's up to you actually. So, because we will do solution now anyway. So, but it's at least let's say at least if you tried something and it didn't work out, you can send me like half done work as well, so I can check where some problems were and maybe give comments about what went wrong. So what I'm trying to say that no matter what, try to do at least some part of the job, so you will get feedback from me. So let's start with doing solution. I will use with open. And first things first, I will open the file. So mine is in text files and is big.txt. I will open it with a read method. I will also put an encoding here as file. Encoding. Coding. Actually, it wasn't a hard task. The only thing you needed to look through is methods working with string, because we have after we read file, we get a string. So let's start with reading everything that is in a text file. So I'll create a data variable, and I will use read method to get all of the information from text file. So speaking of which, we spoke that we need to make sure that these signs, these symbols, don't affect uniqueness of the words. And some people might try to split the string into a list of words and then try to modify this word. So it's not a good idea, and I'll show you it here. So for example, I have a hello, think my name is Jack. So let's say I have this variable. This is just an example. So if I say that words is equal to x split, so just to remind you, split uses white space to split string into a list of strings. So if I use this method and print out what I get in return, the result will be like that. So I have this Jack with a dot in the end, and I have this hello with a comma. So some people think that they might use a for cycle to change what's inside the list. So some people do for word in words, word equals word dot replace, let's say, comma, to empty string, but this doesn't work in Python. So if you do it like that, your original values will still be the same. So trying to split everything into a list and then trying to get rid of symbols is a bad idea. So because it doesn't work like that. There are solutions. There are there is map method that takes function as an argument, and then creates a new list, but we didn't go through it, so I didn't expect anyone to do so. So this is just an example of how changing these variables separate elements inside the list doesn't actually change them, so it won't work. So what we needed to do is to make all needed modifications to this variable data. And the reason for that is that data is a string, so we have plenty of different methods working with strings, so we can use those. I did show you that you can use many methods in one row. So you can apply, for example, one method and then another after it and another and another. And what we needed to do is to take same variable and change it. So make some modifications. So first of all, we need to change case of letters. You can choose this on your own. Either it's uppercase or lowercase, it's up to you. We just need they all equal. So let's say, oh, data, sorry, data lower. And we also need to replace symbols. By replace, I mean cut them out. So basically, we need to replace all of those symbols and swap them with empty strings. Uh, you might want to try a strip method, but strip method deletes symbols only in beginning and the end of the string. So the only method that actually fits here is a replace. And I will just remind you that replace takes two strings as an argument. First string is what we are looking for, and second string, what are we changing the first one with. So basically, if I write here all of the symbols like that, it won't be working. Let's say change it for empty string. It won't be working just because method replace takes all of these symbols combination and looks for it in the text in exactly the same order. So it's not each of these symbols must be replaced with empty string, but the string like that. So basically, all of it must be in the same order inside text in order to be replaced. This won't work with our text, so we need to replace all of these symbols separately. So what we do here, we just put one replace to replace all exclamation marks, and then we use several replaces in a row. So I can do a question mark dot replace. I can do a dot replace. I can do a comma. Right, while here. We can do for example, not while. We can do while, but it's not best thing. We can do a list of symbols, for example, and use for. So for symbol in list of symbols, data equals data replace, and you use this symbol instead. So you can do that as well. So if you want to do some let's say more fluid solution, let's do it actually. Symbols, I can create a list of symbols, or actually I can leave a string here, because if we use for cycle with string, we iterate symbols, so it's okay. So you can actually do it like that too. So you use all of these symbols. Was there a star as well? Yep, asterisk. So then you can do it a bit different, so you don't use this replace all the time. What you can do is you can use a for cycle. So I do for sim in symbols, data equals data replace, and then we use sim for the first argument. So we're looking for sim and replacing it with an empty string. So you can do that as well. If I print data here, we should see a text without any commas, without any uppercase letters, any symbols that we stated in there. So we can actually do that as well. That's better. Yep. Yes, it's let's say this solution is easier to change. So if you want to add some extra symbols, it's not hard to add here. So you just extend the string. For example, we have this. We have this symbol here. So we can use it double quotes. So you can put, for example, double quotes inside here, and it will remove double quotes as well. So this way is a bit better just because you can always extend the string and add other symbols you want to delete. Same with numbers, for example. If you wanted to delete numbers, you can add, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But I'm actually don't want you to delete any numbers. What I also want you to do, I want you to replace data.replace uh, line breaks for spaces. So when you read large text like that, you will have these paragraphs inside, and each paragraph ends with a line break. That's why you get these line breaks here. So if I, let's say, open, that's why you get these line breaks here. So basically, each of these lines is a separate line break. So you can actually swap those two. Um, all right, so now when we have this modified string, we can make a list of it. So I can say words equal to data split. Print words. Of course, it's not like 100% exact solution because we still have some other different symbols inside. Maybe we might get some white spaces in here as well, so we need to consider that as well. But there is a different solution using regular expressions library, but that's a topic of a different lesson. So what I wanted you to do is to do it simple. So words is a list of total words in this text. So if I print len words, I should get something like 1,095,333 words. How much less? 1,001,941. Okay, do you have everything same like me? I did delete the semicolons as well. All right, so maybe that's the reason for that. So I can check it a bit after I explain everything. So how to get unique words? Unique words. In order to get unique words, you can just convert list words into a set. So set will delete all duplicates. But I will do it like that: list set words. Why am I doing that? Because second part of the homework was to write down everything in alphabetical order, and I'm not able to sort sets because set doesn't have an order. So that's why I'm converting this list to set. Basically, this operation will delete all of the duplicates, and this operation will convert the result back to list, so I can sort it later. So, good. Now we need to create a file where we will save the result. So I will step back with the indentation and open another one. Open, let's say, text files, big result.txt. I will open it with the write mode and set its encoding to UTF-8 as file. I will use same variable file because the other file is closed by that moment. And what we need to do now is write two lines of code to say how many words and unique words. So for that, I can use a write method. So write, I will use f string. So there are len words, words in, let's say, big txt. What I also will add here is a line break because I will remind you that write method doesn't insert line breaks itself. So if you want a line break, you need to add it manually. So file write, there are len unique words in big.txt, and I will put another line break here.
You are just writing, you are just putting enter. But if I will put enter here, it continues the string. Can't do that.
You mean like that?
Yeah.
You just push, sorry, was it shift enter to skip to the next
No,
line?
no, I'm not. Like, what's the difference between that and these are like writing again?
It's easier to read, in my opinion, rather than creating a big long string. But you can use all of that in one string, so you can actually skip that part. Yeah, so you can actually skip that part and do it like that.
Mhm.
So it's for Python, if you do it this way, this means you are writing one long string. You don't need any plus signs here or anything. It's just connected automatically. But I usually use two write methods. So
Yeah, I just wanted to know
Mhm.
the difference.
And for the last bit, we need to sort our unique list. So let's start with that. Unique dot sort. And after that, when I have this list sorted, I can write down all of the words in alphabetical order. Because list is sorted, I can use a for cycle. So I say for word in unique file, right? Let's do an f string. I'll write a word and a line break. So let's have it, give it a go. Mhm. So if we look at results, we see that we have that many words in big TXT, and there are that many unique words in big TXT, and then we have all of these words written down here in alphabetical order. So here we can see that, for example, we have these hash signs and square brackets inside. So this might be something that is actually messing around with the amount of words. But we had agreement that we exclude only given amount of symbols. So you didn't have to go through all of that. So that's okay. There is also numbers. And for numbers, these are symbols as well. So if you want to exclude numbers, for example, you need to do so. But actually, in order to get to count real number of words, it's quite hard with just regular Python. So as I told before, to do it more thoroughly, to delete all needed symbols, we still need to use a regular expression library. We will have a separate lesson on regular expressions, but it's not today. So I will show you a different way of working with strings, let's say a better way, but for now, as we're learning, this should be enough. So any questions on that solution? Right. Okay, so I'll leave this solution in homework.py in the working with files folder. And as for today, we will look at our first library. tester.py. So actually, I did show you math library very quickly. I did tell you that there are a lot of different methods. You can look through math library yourself later, but what I want to speak with you today is dates, time, and working with that data in Python. So if we speak about such measurement as time, it is always difficult for a programming language to work with it. The reason for that is different, let's say, different amounts of converting one unit to another. So if we speak about minutes, we have 60 seconds in 1 minute. If we speak about hours, we have 60 minutes in 1 hour. But if we speak about day, we have 24 hours a day. If we speak about month, we are not even sure how many days there is in month, because we can have 30 or 31, and February we can have 28 or 29, depending from year, is it if it's a leap year or not. So it is always hard for a programming language that is mostly works in Hexel system. This means using the 16-digit counting system, or in regular counting system when we use 10, when we use numbers divisible by 10 without remainder. So the thing is that in order to work with any date or work with time, what you need to do, you need to use separate libraries that are created for working with dates. And today I will show you two small libraries, library calendar and time, just to make sure you get used to working with libraries. And then we will switch to a bigger library that names is date time. That has a lot of different instruments and solutions for working with dates and time. So first library, it's more, let's say, some good looking way of printing calendars and stuff, but it's not very powerful. So why am I showing it? I just want to show you some basics of working with libraries. So in order to import a library, and we are talking about Python libraries, built-in Python libraries, so these that come installed with the installation of Python, because we will have third-party libraries as well that will require us to install libraries before we can use them. So we can import them in our code by using an import keyword. Import keywords, and first library I will import is a calendar. What you need to understand is how import works. So when we write import calendar or import any word we will write, what Python does, it actually searches for a py file with the same name in the folder where the file you executed is located. So basically, I'm using this tester.py. It is located here. And if, for example, I will create a, let's say, Python file with the same name, calendar.py, yes, and I will try to use this calendar library here, I will see that I don't have any methods inside it. So what happened here is my import of calendar imported this particular file, not a library. So for example, I can say def, let's say something, print hello world. I do it like that. You may not do this example. So what happened here? I imported a calendar that must be a library in Python. But if I use a calendar dot, I see my something method. And if I run it, it will print hello world. So what happens is that using import can not only import you a library, but can also import you a file, any file that you have in your system. So by saying import calendar and having calendar file at the same folder, I'm importing this file. And the logic is that Python, first of all, looks for the same name file inside the folder where you execute it. So tester.py is here. and Python is looking in the same folder. If there is a file with that name, Python will import that file. If there is no such file, so I will delete it. Python will start looking in built-in libraries. So it will look for a library calendar inside built-in libraries in Python. If it doesn't find this library there, only then it will be looking through third-party libraries. So the, let's say, steps of searching is I search for a file locally. If it's not there, I search for a library through the built-ins. If not, I search for a library through the third parties. So what you need to be sure of, you never name files with the same name as a library. I do have this calendar HTML here, but HTML doesn't count because Python imports Python files, so .py. Uh, so next time, if you import a library and try running a method from it and it doesn't work, first thing to do is to check if you didn't name the file with the same name as the library. So otherwise this file will be imported. Otherwise, apart from that, if you don't create this file here, you can see that calling this calendar library and pressing a dot will give you a list of possible attributes and methods you can use within this library. Of course, calendar is not just a couple of methods. It's a quite large library, but we won't be covering it a lot because we will be covering date time, which is more important. But in order for you to get used to work with libraries and do your first tries, we will use this calendar thing. So what calendar actually does, and the only reason I'm showing it is a couple of students that wanted to print good looking calendars inside the command line. So calendar library is the thing that actually helps to do so. And let's try with creating a print statement and calling a calendar and a month method out of it. So calendar month. Actually, let's do it in a separate variable. So I'll do month, calendar month.
And then print.
Yes, you can print now, but it's too early because leaving month empty will cause you give you a type error. So month actually requires a couple of arguments, and if we look at the snippets, you can see that first one is the year, second is the month, and then we have two optional ones. By optional, I'm saying the ones with default values. So basically, W and L default values are zeros. You can see that from snippet as well. So you need to provide this method with a year and a month, and both of them must be integers. So let's say we take 2024 and take January. So I put 1. Uh, just because this method accepts integers, you are not allowed to use anything like that. So you don't put 0, 1 because integer, if it's not a 0, integer can't start with 0. So you can't start with 0, 1. It's not legal in Python. That's why if you have these months that have only one number, you don't need to write this leading 0. You can just write a number. So if I print that out, print month, and I will also do a print type month because there will be something new to us. As you can see, this library provided us with a string. So if we check the data type, it's string. That looks like a 1 month calendar. So it's not sort of calendar you can actually work with. By that I mean you can't add, for example, today's date in that calendar or somehow customize it. It's just a way to print out calendar for 1 month like that. So the calendar library is mostly used to print out some calendar views like that. Uh, I will repeat myself, this calendar is not customizable. So you can't put some, I don't know, some red dates in there or do some notes and stuff like that. So it's just a string that represents a calendar. And as far as you can see, it's a pre-formatted string. That means that it has its own line breaks. It does have right amount of spaces in order to look good. So I told that there are two parameters or two arguments we can add. One of them is w, and let's add w5 and see what will happen. W equal 5. No, equal 5 means width. So the width of the calendar we are printing, because if I change it back to how it was, you can see that calendar was very narrow, and you had these names of days only marked with two symbols. So MOTUWE, and if we put this W equals to 5 back, we will get a wider calendar, and as you can see, these day names were changed to three letters. And you can also put, for example, 10, W equals to 10, and then there's enough space to put the full names of weekdays. So W means width, and by width, we don't mean any, let's say, pixels, centimeters, or stuff like that. By saying W equals to 5, we are actually talking about that spacing. So this means one, two, three, four, five spaces between single numbers. Not two-digit numbers, but single numbers. So it's the space between them. W equals 5. We also have another argument here that is a letter L, the lowercase letter L. Let's add 5 as well. So L stands for length, and what it actually does, it does say how many line breaks we have here. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 5 is here. So how many line breaks we have between these lines of calendar. So you can choose any numbers you want. There is also a default. But in order to print some good looking calendars, you can use this method and this library. So month is providing us with a calendar for 1 month only. So similar method, I will use another variable and call it a year, is a method with the same name as the library. So you have this calendar library and a calendar method inside it. That's a normal thing. In Python, sometimes you do have these methods that share the same name as the library. Datetime won't be an exception. So calendar is actually a similar thing to previous method, but it does provide you with a calendar for a full year. So because of that, there is no such argument as month, because you take the full year calendar, so you can actually add a year here. We still have the same arguments W and L, and we also get C and M arguments too. So let's try by printing out just a calendar like that. It is also a string. So if you use calendar library and print out month or year, it's pretty much string all the time. It makes it what makes why string is not so good, because string like that can hardly be split into parts or something like that. So For us, it's a good way to make a good looking calendar inside command line, but actually it doesn't have any sense in terms of program features or any functionality. So that's the thing. But if we speak about these two arguments, so W is actually the same thing. So W tells us about width of each separate calendar, how many spaces are there between single digit numbers. L is the same thing. So L is how many spaces you have between lines. I will leave it one because I already showed how it works. So we have this C parameter. Let's change it to C equals to 3. Actually, let's do it 10. Yep, let's do it 10. So C is a space between each month. So we are talking about these spaces. And the other one, M, let's say M equal to 4. M is the amount of months in one line. So actually by saying M equals to 4, I created a year calendar that does have 4 months in each line. Or if I change it for 2, for example, I will have a calendar with 2 months in one line. Or if I change it to 1, I will have every month on a separate line. So basically it's the way you can manipulate the output. So both of these methods are more to just print out a calendar. They don't have any significant value in terms of programming, so it's some good looking output for you and for your future programs if you might need it. Because I had some students who wanted to type this out. So this is the first way of using it, and I will continue with other methods. So apart from these just good-looking printouts, calendar does have some good functionality, and one of it is a weekday method. So what we do, we print a calendar and take a weekday method out there. And let's put some dates in there. Will put let's put today's. So it's 2024. It's first month, and we don't put any leading zeros, and it's eighth date. So we're not putting any leading zeros here also. And I will print this out. So today we have a Monday, and Monday is a day zero of a weekend. So what we are talking about here is that we start counting with zero. So Monday is zero, Tuesday is one, Wednesday is two, and so on up to Sunday. Sunday is six. So if you need a day from Monday to Sunday, you can get it with the weekday method. What you need to understand that all of these libraries use your system locale. So by that I mean that if you have settings that start week with Sunday, for example, then Sunday will be your first day of the week. So zero will be Sunday. If you have local settings starting with Monday, so zero will be Monday. And also it's the same for time zones. So if you have different and time zones. So if you have different time zone, you will be provided with your time, not with some general time. So all these libraries use your operating system settings in order to determine date, time, and so on and so on. So it's used by checking your system. Yep. by checking your system. So, for example, you need to understand there is two different things: system language and a language of local. So, if you go to your language and region settings, you can see that you have this Windows display language that actually only changes the language of Windows programs, menus, and so on and so on. And here you can see country origin and regional format. So for me, it's put as Estonian. So that what actually gives different libraries working with dates, understanding of what date and what settings we should accept. So for me, it's Estonian, and I get this dates where day, month, and year split with dots. If you have, for example, American, they used slashes to split date, and they might have month and then date, so they are sometimes changed. So the way of using these local settings comes from your machine's local settings, so you need to be careful with that. So that's one way of getting a weekday as a number. So you get an integer in return that represents the day. Uh, what else? I'll show a couple of more methods from here, and we will continue with the other library. So print calendar dot isleap, and I will put two of those. So I'll put 2024, and I will use the same line of code and put 2023, for example, and run that. So I have true and false. Does everyone know what a leap day is?
February 29.
Yeah. So once in 4 years, we have this leap year where we have 29 days in February. So 1 year is longer. Actually, this is why if you have, for example, some number of years and you want to get, okay, you have some number of days and you want to know how many years there are in this. For example, you have 2000 days. For example, you want to know how many years there. It is recommended that you don't divide with 365, but you divide with 365.25. This is a correction for leap year. So basically, if I have, for example, 2000 days, I want to know how many years are there. How many years are there? I should divide like that in order to make a correction for a leap year. So it's 5.5 years, let's say. So it is recommended. So isLeap method returns true if it's a leap year, and isLeap method returns false if it's not. And there is also one more method to work with leap years is a calendar leap days. Calendar leap days method. And speaking about leap days method, it accepts 2 years. So let's say we take 2000 and we take 2024, run that, we get 6. But actually, if we start counting 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024, it makes us 7. So why we have 6? The same reason as pretty much everywhere when we show the range. Last number doesn't count. So if you want 2024 to be included, you use 2025 instead. So you will get 7. This is a small preview of calendar library. So,
in my case, it showed 2. In your case,
what year do you have here
2000.
and here?
Oh,
Works now, yeah. Good. So from now on, we are working with different libraries. So what am I calendar Python? So what I encourage you to do is now when you learn a new library, you better go and check the documentation. So if you look through documentation of this calendar library, you can see that you have even more different methods here. For example, ether weekdays, ether month dates, ether month days, and if you look through it, you have these methods. Then you have these arguments inside brackets, so possible arguments that you can provide. It does have an explanation what does this method return, so you can actually go through them and use one of those. So the reason I'm not showing each of these methods is because some libraries can have thousands of different methods. And if we make our lessons like this method does and this method does, most of these methods you probably won't use anywhere. No, sorry, not a single time, let's say. So some of these methods you might use all the time. It depends on what will you do later in the future. So you might be some, I don't know, some backend developer for some calendar software, then you will be using these methods all the time. Or might be some data analysis that doesn't actually require you to work with dates at all, or maybe use dates in some minimal way. So you can look through those. I can show you this HTML calendar method, for example. With this method, you can create an HTML code to create a calendar inside the web page. So it looks like that. I'm not expecting you to understand HTML, but actually this method can also provide you with HTML code. So I can create a web page and use this code on this web page to make a calendar like that. So it's an interesting thing as well. So you might be able to use it. Right, but from now on, I will be providing you with links to documentation. And as I always say, you don't have to learn everything you have in documentation because during our course, we will go through at least 15, 20 different libraries, and some of them are quite big. And I'm not expecting you to learn everything by heart. The reason for that is that the workflow of a programmer does allow you to use internet, does allow you to use references, and does allow you to use documentation. So if you come to some company and they say you must know it from heart and you're not allowed to use internet, there is something wrong in this company, because it's a normal thing for programmer to look for information and to use documentation. Basically, a good programmer is not the one who knows everything, is the one who knows how to use documentation fast and to get information from there. Because sometimes you will have to work, for example, with libraries that you never saw before. Then what they expect you to do is to open documentation, read through, and understand how you can use this library for the tasks given. So, if speaking about not libraries, but library documentations, I will be leaving links like that to documentation website. So, if we speak about built-in libraries, it's usually on python.org website. So it's docs.python.org, and you can find all needed documentation there. If we speak about third-party libraries, they usually have their own website with documentation, and I will give you those as well. So in case you need to work with calendars somehow, you can look through this documentation. And I will comment this out and import another library. I will import time. Import time. And pay attention that before, let's say I will decomment that line, my library import is colored. So I have this light blue import word and I have this white calendar word. But when I comment it out, it changes itself to gray. So what it actually says, the color of import tells us whether we used or we did not use this library in our code. So basically now when everything is commented, import calendar is not actually needed because we don't use any methods from calendar library. And also PyCharm will give you these warnings. So if we open those, you can see unused import statement for calendar and unused import statement for time. The reason for that is that you shouldn't import libraries you don't use because it takes time loading. Okay, it doesn't take a lot of time with these libraries, these are small. But if you take some larger library, it will use some time to load this library into your virtual memory, and you are not using this library. So you can actually remove imports if you don't use some libraries. So make sure to do so. But in our case, let it stay. We will be writing everything in one file. And as you probably mentioned, I did import time at the beginning of the document. So the idea is that you should, let's say, almost always import all of the libraries in the beginning. So when file loads, all of the imports are loaded first and then your code. Because it will be the same problem if you use, for example, print calendar 2024. If you use that before import, so it's the same as referencing a variable before assignment. So it doesn't exist on this line of code. So in order to make it work perfectly, you need to use this library after it is important. So that's why there is a rule that all of the libraries are usually imported in the beginning of file. And I can show you. Uh, Actually, I don't have example for some bigger libraries like Django, for example. It's a library for backend development. You won't be only importing the whole library, but you will be importing different parts of it, and I will show you these imports a bit later. So import everything in the beginning of the file. And also I will remind you from the last lesson, the one before, that all of the functions are created in the beginning as well. This rule is not always like that. Some libraries and some workflow require you to create functions in different places, but mostly you better create functions in the beginning. So make sure you do so. So second thing I imported is a time library. I actually go here to the bottom. And time library is an interesting thing. It does actually have a lot of different methods, but it mostly used for one. But before I do so, I want to show you something. I will say start is equal to time dot time, like that. And I will print the start, and I will also print type of start. Float. And actually this float here represents the time at the moment the program was running. So what I told you before, that time is a difficult measure for computer programs because we have all of these different amounts while converting. So we have this 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, then we have 24 hours a day, God knows how many days per month, and so on and so on. So when computers were invented and when operating systems were invented, there was a need to somehow count time, to somehow work with time. And if we speak about seconds and everything that is less than a second, it comes back to what we used to, because there is 1000 milliseconds in 1 second, and there is 1 million microseconds in 1 second. So we actually get these numbers divisible by 10. So it was decided that seconds will be used as the main counting time unit. And basically what this number represents, it's called a Unix timestamp. So let's do it like that. Unix timestamp. Oh, you have this website. So, what was offered and what was created? They created this Unix timestamp, and Unix timestamp represents nothing but number of seconds since the beginning of epoch. And beginning of epoch was made on January 1st, 1970 at 0 o'clock. So basically, starting with this January 1st, 1970, they started counting how many seconds passed. So basically, what this Unix timestamp represents is how many seconds passed that date at 0 hours, 0 minutes in the beginning. So this format is largely used among different programs and different programming languages. So pretty much all of the programming languages do understand what timestamp is. Why it is easy? It is easy because we can actually take, for example, let's say I will change a day. Let's say I will say 4th. I will get another amount of seconds here, and what I can actually do, I can say print start minus that, and what I will get a difference in time. So there is a 352,881 seconds difference between two dates or between two timestamps that can be easily counted into days, hours, minutes, as we did on the test and task number 7, if you remember. So this is one of the way to represent time in programming. It's a Unix timestamp. So we can use that, and I will show you some different ways as well. But you need to understand what this timestamp means. JavaScript understands timestamps. There is a timestamp field in SQL databases. Python can work with timestamp. And let's say that the best thing about timestamp that it's a float. So you can work with floats like with regular numbers, and you don't need some extra libraries and something to work with these types of dates. So let's make another one. Let's make stop equal to time. And let's print the difference. So I say stop minus start, and let's see what difference we have. So the thing is that when you have such a small time gap, and what we actually have, we do take the start time, then we do a couple of prints, and then we take the stop time. So when you try to get the difference between start of the program and end of the program, you see that the difference is not significant and it's rounded to 0. So you only get 0 in this case. If you add something here, for example, I'll show you another method. So you can add a compulsory stop or compulsory pause at your code, and you can use time library for that. So actually, time library is mostly used for that method. This method is sleep, time.sleep. And you can put any number of seconds here as a float or integer. So I say time sleep 5, sleep for 5 seconds. And when I run this program again, you can see that I have this pause for 5 seconds, and only after that we continue. So what time sleep does, it makes your program stop for a given amount of time. So where it can be used, for example, in our ID code program, so you can use time sleep after each output. So before this menu comes back, the user can read the output normally without this menu in front. So something like that. Sometimes you just need to wait for some things and you use time sleep, but mostly this library is used for that, for this time sleep method. And there is a joke also. Of course it doesn't work, but you can try. they say that when you start a new job as a Python programmer, add time sleep 3 seconds to many different places. So at the end of your probation period, you can start deleting these time sleeps and say that you optimize the code. So it's a joke. Of course, no one will allow you to do that, and they will see that you add those. But time sleep is a compulsory pause that you can put at any point of your program. So to make program stop for the given amount of time. And when I make a bigger difference, so I made a 5 second pause here, we can see the difference between start and end uh, actually exists. So it's not zero, it's 0.01136 and so on seconds. So it's 1,000th of a second. So basically, you can look at the differences between these two, but not when you don't have enough time to measure it. So when I put 5 seconds, we see this 5 seconds pause and a difference between execution of this line and this line as well. It's 5.001 seconds. So time sleep, yeah, can be used to make some stops. I will comment this out and show you a couple of more methods. So what time also provides us with print time dot either GM time. So here GM time, print time or local time. And for these two, I want to print types as well, so I'll do it like that. Type time, oh sorry, time GM time and print type local time. So if you look at data types of these methods, you can see something new to you. So we did go through Python data types, and there was never a time struct time data type. And we have it here now. The reason for that, you shouldn't worry actually, because there is not no million different data types in Python. Data types are only these that we went through on the lessons before, but some of the libraries can actually provide you with some new classes. We will be looking at object-oriented program in a couple of lessons, and you will get more understanding of how classes work and why data types are also called classes in Python. But as speaking about this struct time or time struct time class, it's just a way of libraries to create their own data types. So basically what we get here is something that is not a regular Python data type, but created by a library. So each library pretty much will create its own, so you don't need to remember all of those, remember only basic data types of Python. And speaking about that struct time, it actually behaves like a list. And if we look here, we do have this year first. So it's year, month, day, hour, minute, second, weekday, so zeros for Monday, year day, so the number of day in the year, today is 8, and ESDT is summer winter time. So summer time is 1, winter time is 0. So you have this structurized time format. So we took this GM time, it took this time now, but you need to see the difference between local time and GM. So GM is a Greenwich time, which means that it's a time zone 0, And local time is a time zone that is local here. So it's +2 for Estonia, and we have this 15 hours that actually represents the truth. But they are the same format. So actually, I can index it. So in order to get year, for example, I can index that with 0 and get 2024. This is an integer. So if I want to get a month, I can index 1. If I want to get a day, I can index 2, and so on and so on and so on. So actually, this struct time or structured time format does provide us with information about year, months, day, hours, minutes, seconds, weekday, year, day, and so on, that we can use later on in our different parts of code. I am showing you that, but I'm 100% sure you will be using other library that we will continue a bit later. It's a datetime library. It's a lot more, let's say, not sure how to say it's let's say it's better for you to use datetime because it has different possibilities comparing to time library. But if you only need to get, for example, year or months or date, you can use this gm or local time also. There is another one, another method in this library is an ask time, like that, ASC time. And comparing to previous to ASC time is not structured time format. So ASC time is a string representation of date and time when this line worked. So basically all of them take a time now, including a date, but these two will return you the struct time format that actually gives you opportunity to take each part of the date separately. And ISC time is just a string representation of a date when you run this program. So date and time at at this point. Do you have any questions? So I will repeat myself. Mostly, this is used. This library is used for time sleep function. So all of the other things are not that often used because date time covers both date and time at the in the same place in the same library. So we can actually look through documentation as well. And we can see some different methods here too. So clock get time, and s, and so on and so on. So there are different methods here too. Some of them are new to us. What I encourage you to do is to look through it, but at the same time, I will be giving you a datetime library that actually does everything that time does, but it does it in a better, more convenient way. So the reason I show you this time separately is to show you that there are different solutions for the same tasks, and time is one of them, but date time is a lot better, so you can actually work with date time later in future. But you should know that this library exists. Do you have any questions? I offer to make a break and then take date time in one piece after the break. Yep.